Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. This video is part of the YouTube series that I'm making called Zero to Hero Business Central. In this series, I already uploaded few videos on my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to learn about numeric functions in Business Central. So whenever you are working with numeric data, you might need some numeric functions. So like you might need round or absolute or power or random functions. When working with numeric data, you might find it helpful to use these functions. So we have round, absolute, power, random. The following are the functions that are available in Business Central. Like for example, if you wanted to round up, round down a particular number or particular numeric data, then you can go for round function. Or if you wanted to find absolute value of a particular number, then you can go for abs function. Or if you wanted to find power, like for example, if you wanted to find 2 power 3, then you go for power function. And if you wanted to generate random numbers, then you can go for random function. So let us actually see these functions one by one. Also, let us see them in code as well. So first, let me actually explain you about round function. So let me go to round. In here, you can see the syntax for round function. So basically, the round function actually returns a decimal type. So we wanted to store that inside a new number. So I have actually created a new number, and this round is going to return us a new number. So but let us actually see the parameters that the round function takes. So the first parameter it takes is the number itself, like the number which we wanted to round up or round down. And it takes the second parameter as precision. So this is basically how many decimal places you wanted in the new number. And direction is basically, do you want to round up or do you want to round down? So that is basically defined by direction. In direction, we need to provide equals to, greater than, or lesser than. All of these serve different purposes. Like for example, if you give equals to, it basically does rounds up or rounds down to the nearest values. Values of 5 or greater than 5 are rounded up. For example, let's say you have values in a decimal place which are greater than 5, then those will be rounded up. And for example, if you have values lesser than 5, those will be rounded down. So if you wanted to just round up irrespective of this particular thing, then you can go for just greater than sign over here, so it will always round up. But if you just wanted to round down irrespective of the value that you have, then you can go for rounds down. So let us actually see this in an example. I have an example over here which actually does the rounds up. So I'm using the direction as greater than, and I'm using the precision as 0.001. That means I need 3 decimal places, and I have the number as 1234.4567. So here you can see the new number generated is going to be only 3 decimal places, because we have given the precision as 0.001 and the sign as greater than, so it is always going to do the rounds up. So in here you can see I want till this particular place, so it is basically going to consider this particular decimal value, which is 7. Even if I don't give the direction, it is going to do the rounds up, because this 7 is actually, it is greater than 5, that's why it is going to do rounds up. But we are actually giving this greater than sign, so it is going to actually do rounds up, and it is going to give us 1234.457. So let us actually see this in example. I have employees setup page in Business Central. In here I'm going to actually create one more action button, and inside that action button I'm going to write my logic related to these numeric functions. So let us actually see these functions one by one. So as I explained about round functions, so let us actually see that in Visual Studio Code. So basically I'm going to create one more action button in the employee setup page called numeric functions. So let me actually do this, and let me call it numeric functions. And let me actually remove this particular code. I'm going to come back to this code later, but let me go to employee operations code unit, and in here I'm actually going at the end, and here let me actually create one more procedure called, let me use the shortcut, let me say this is as an internal procedure, and let me call this procedure as numeric numeric functions, and let me call this as, okay, let me actually create new number, and this should be decimal, and let me actually take this new number and paste in here, and now let me actually do the round, and in round let me actually give this particular number. So our number is 1234 dot 4567, and our precision is 0.001, and our direction is basically greater than, so let me give that direction, and now let me actually call this function from the employee setup page. So let me copy this, and let me say numeric functions, and now let me actually publish this, and let us see how that actually looks in the UI. So basically in numeric functions, if I go in here, I'm basically doing the rounds up by giving the direction, and I want three decimal places, so that's why I have given the precision as 0.001, and this is my number. So let me go to my business central, and now let me actually do the refresh, and let me actually find out by clicking on this numeric functions, and in here you can see it actually does the round up, and we are getting the value 1234.457. Let me actually remove this, so it is basically going to do the equals to. So let's click on control F5 again. Now again it should give us the same value, because this particular 7 which is actually greater than 5, so it should actually do the rounds up. So let me go to my business central again, let me refresh this, and now let me click on numeric functions again, and in here you can see it again gives us the same value 1234.457, because we are doing the rounds up. We have given the direction equals to, but this particular value 7 is actually greater than 5, so it is going to do the rounds up. So let me actually do one thing, let me actually make it 4, which is actually lesser than 5, so it should actually do the rounds down. Now we are going to get the value as 1234.456. So let me go and publish again, because we have given the equals to, so it is going to check this particular value, and it is going to do rounds up or rounds down based on that particular value. So let me go to my business central again. Now let me refresh this once, and now let me click on numeric functions, and in here you can see it has now given us 1234.456, because it is basically doing the rounds down, because this particular value 4 is actually lesser than 5. So let me actually do this particular thing, lesser than, but let me actually give this value greater than 5. Even though I have given greater than 5, when we have equals to, it has given us 1234.457, but here I am using rounds down, so I'm explicitly telling it to round down, so it is actually going to give me the value 1234.456 itself, and it is not going to round up, it is basically going to do round down. So let me go and publish this, and let us actually see that how it looks in the UI. So let me go to my business central, let me refresh this once, and now let me click on numeric functions again. Here you can see rounded number is basically it has round down, because we have given explicit lesser than direction, so it is going to round down, it is going to give us the value 1234.456. So that is all that we have: the direction, the precision, and the number itself. So the new number is going to be a decimal number. If you come over here, you can see the number basically returns a decimal value. So that is round function. Now let us actually see the absolute function. So absolute function is very simple. It basically returns the absolute value of a number. Like for example, if you give a negative value, it is basically going to return as the absolute value of that negative value. Basically, let me give a let me take new number, and now here we have the example already. And now let me do message. Here you can see it is going to give us the absolute value, which is 1234.56. So the absolute value of negative 1234.56 is basically 1234.56. So let me actually publish this and let us see how that actually looks. Now let me go to my business central. Let me refresh this once. And now let me click on number functions. Here you can see it has given us the absolute value. So it is very simple and very easy. Now let me actually go to other function, which is power function. Like for example, if you wanted to find out power of some number, then you can go for power function. So let us actually see how we can derive 2 power 3. So let me go in Visual Studio Code and let me actually say this number as integer, and let us take, okay, now let me take new number, and now let me actually use the power function, and let's just give 2 3. So in here, if you see, the power function raises a number to a power. For example, you can use this method to square the number 2 to get the result 4. So basically it is saying, in the first place we have to give the number, in the second place we basically have to give the power. So in here we have given 2, so 2 power 3 is basically 8, so it should actually return us 8. So let me just do that. Let me 2 raised to the power 3 is basically 8. So let me actually publish this and let us see how that actually looks in the UI. Let me go in here, let me refresh this once, and let me click on numeric functions again. Now here you can see 2 raised to the power 3 is 8. So basically the first parameter is the number itself, and the second parameter is basically the power. So 2 power 3 is 8. Now let us actually see the other function, which is random function. So if you wanted to generate random numbers, then you can go for random functions. So let me go in here and let me actually take this as new number, and let me just generate random numbers like till 10, from 1 to 10. So it is, let us actually see, returns a pseudo random number. So max number is 10, so it is going to return us random number till 10, any number like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 or 10. So it is actually going to return as an integer, which is going to be random. So let me actually publish this and let us actually see that in action. Now let me go to my business central. Let me refresh this once. And now let us click on numeric functions again. Now here you can see random number is 10, but let me click on again. Now here you can see random number is 4. Now let me click on again. Now random number is 10. Let me click this one again. A random number is 8. So it is going to give us the random numbers. But also we have one more function or procedure called randomize. So randomize, now let me take this procedure and let us actually see the definition. Generates a set of random numbers from which the random method will select a random number. So if you use randomize, it is going to actually generate a set of random numbers. So the set will already be generated, and from that set I'm actually going to choose the random number. So if I use randomize and random, the set will already be generated with the randomize, and this random function is going to choose the value from that randomized set. So let me actually publish this and let us see with different examples. Now let me go to business central again. Let me refresh this. And now let us click on numeric functions. Now the random number is 4, and let me click on again. The random number is 6. Now let me click on again. The random number is 2. Let me click on again. The random number is 7. So the randomize actually generated a set from which the random function chooses a random value. We can also make these random values predictable. Like for example, let's say I have given 100. Now here I'm generating a random number. Let me go in here and let me just paste this here, and let me just paste this here. And now let us actually see what kind of values it generates. So let me just do control F5. Let us actually see what kind of values it returns so that I can show you how we can actually predict the values. Now if I click on numeric functions, okay, let me actually have to do the refresh because I just published. Let me go to employee setup, and now let me actually click on numeric functions. Now here you can see random number is 10, random number 2, random number 7. So 10 to 7, it has generated 10 to 7. Just remember that. Now let me actually copy this again and now paste in here. Let me call this numeric functions 2, and now let me actually call this procedure from here. Now you can see the magic. Here also it is going to actually generate the same set of random values. So let me actually publish this. So it should give us 10 to 7. Let me go in Business Central and let me refresh this. Did I actually change in the employee setup? Yeah, I have changed. Now let me go to Business Central. Let me refresh this once. And now let me click on numeric functions 10 to 7. So basically, Randomize has generated a set of random values, and these are actually choosing from the same set. So this is a seed value. If we are not changing the seed value, it is always going to give us the same set of random numbers that we have to choose. So if we give a seed value, it is going to provide us with the same set of values. But if you don't give us the seed value, it has a mechanism to actually generate random numbers in a set. So if you wanted to actually have predictable random numbers, then you can go with the seed value. But if you don't want to have predictable random numbers, then you can remove the seed value. So it has actually a mechanism built in that will actually generate a random number each time. So that's all in this video about numeric functions in Business Central. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'll be uploading more videos in this particular series called Zero to Hero Business Central. If you don't want to miss them, you should definitely consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you.